You decided that this bottom was the last bottom you'll ever go through. You decided to roll up your sleeves and get a better handle of your emotional, mental, and physical health. This is the Venture Forward. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be. This is the very first episode of the Venture Forward. I'm John Venturini, and I'm a recovering addict of obesity, overeating, alcoholism, and gambling. And quite frankly, some people call that a co-addiction. Many people call that life. A lot of people have been stuck in those ruts for a very long time. I certainly was one of them. And over time, I realized that either I'm going to change this or I'm going to perish. So that said, 22 months ago, I decided to do something about it. It is an absolute honor and pleasure to be with you tonight. In many ways than one, right? The first would be that I'm alive and I'm well and I'm able to tell my story. But secondly, the fact that I'm able to meet a bunch of like-minded people who have done things for themselves, not only by way of recovery, but by way of bettering themselves. And quite frankly, it's something that I've been walking down over the last year and a half, almost 2 years. I have been on a diet for the last 22 months where I've lost 274 pounds. 274 pounds. I weighed 480 pounds in January of 2019. I weigh 206 right now. And it took an effort like that to realize, hey, I either fix this or it's going to end me. And the same goes for the alcoholism, which we'll talk to at some extent later on. And the same goes for the gambling, which we'll talk about in the coming weeks. Venture Forward is a program that I plan to do twice a week, but also have a conversation on Fridays called VF Talks. I'll tell you more about that towards the end of this program. I couldn't imagine doing this particular episode, this very first episode, about addiction and recovery without someone I have trusted, someone I've grown to know over the last 4 months that I absolutely look up to. And it is an absolute honor and pleasure to have him on the program. And I will get to him, but let me go to your comments first. Let's see who we have. We have Sarah, thank you. You know what? This does feel like home. This really does feel like home. And Sarah, thank you for saying that. Muchly appreciated. Paul's got a comment I'll bring up on the screen anyway. Kidding, Paul. You're great. I like the music. It feels like we're taking a bomber behind enemy lines. Just kissed our loved ones goodbye. You know what? Doing this, taking that step forward, that venture forward, we're making sure we kiss our loved ones a lot more because we're going to be around for a good long time. Paul, great to see you tonight. Sarah, same thing. Sarah also says, love the opening music. And Sean, a great pleasure to see you as well. Great to see you. Great to see you as well. I have my guest in the green room. Let me bring him on, and let's talk recovery. If I could unmute you, it'd be even better. Hang on one sec.
Fucking mute. We can
Merc,
try that.
there we go. It's all new. It's if it's not one thing, it's the other thing. Let me switch this over. Oh, I got that too. Great. And I got that. Okay, hang on. There we go. Beautiful. Got it. Within 5 to 10 clicks, for all of those that have done Lita that are watching tonight, you probably put the over-under on about 13 clicks for me. It's about 5 clicks, 6 clicks. Anyhow.
Progress, John. Progress.
Progress indeed. Paul has another comment. Ooh, John, nice segue from my comment to your goals impressed. Paul, I learned it by watching you, sir. Very much so. And, Jeff, yay, Merc. There we go. All right. So, Merc, an honor and pleasure to have you on this first episode of the Venture Forward. It is so incredible to see you, so incredible to talk to you. And I think we have something in common in that we haven't told our stories much, but I think tonight is a chance for you to tell your story, and I will tell mine as well. Does that sound fair, Merc?
Awesome, man. I honestly, John, I couldn't think of anyone better to do it with, man.
I appreciate that.
I'm super grateful for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you too, and I know that you have a very interesting story to tell, and I am definitely interested in hearing, how the story started, where you are right now, what. Moreover, and I got to say this, how important you've been as far as recovery, and how you've helped others. So I think between all of that, I'm just really happy to have you here.
Man, like I said, I can't express how grateful I am to be doing it with you, man. It's awesome.
It is very much awesome. So, Merc, let's start off with brass tacks. Tell us a little bit about yourself and as much as you want to say, and let's get to know more about Merc. I know a lot about Merc, but I think others would love to know too.
All right, so I guess we'd start. My name's actually Merc, but I go by Merc because I don't know, I've mispronounced it so many times that people started referring to me as it. So I grew up in Ohio my whole life. I've been here. I'm still in the same place. I guess when I was growing up, it was a little bit chaotic in my younger years. Just domestic disputes between my parents and stuff. They were two people that were with each other, then they really probably didn't like each other, and so throw drugs and alcohol on top of that, and it was pretty chaotic. People make bad decisions, and so as a child, I guess that was kind of like normal to me, like chaos. I'm not saying I liked it or enjoyed it or anything, but it was kind of what I knew from a young age. So when I got to be older, a young teenager, I don't know, I kind of seeked out that chaos. Like no matter, I guess the best way to put it, no matter how safe of a situation I was in, I would kind of go out of my way to put myself in unsafe, chaotic, risky situations. And through that, I guess is where, drugs and everything got involved. And once that happened, I feel like it just progressed. Like I don't know. I always, as crazy as this sounds, like I feel like before I even got deep into it, like I had no expectations of like doing a little bit of drugs or like experimenting. Like I kind of went full in, and I don't know, maybe that translates to I got more in a faster time, so I got out of it quicker. I don't know. That's how I like to look at it, because it makes me be a little more positive about it. But yeah, it started small, you know, doing typical kid things, but then, like I said, it got extreme, and it got to the point where I was hopeless, man. Like I don't know. I just kind of just drug myself through every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point to where I didn't enjoy anything. I was miserable. I felt like I was dead, I guess is the best way to describe it. And you know, I was doing things that I knew just weren't in me. And I don't know. So like I knew in the back of my mind that what I was doing wasn't right and it didn't feel right, but I always ignored that. And I would just keep going and going. And I don't know. I don't want to get too descriptive, because that's not,
Sure.
to me, it's not important. But I'll just say that I don't know. I guess I did a lot of things that a lot of people would say I would never do this, I would never do that, and I said too, and I ended up doing them, and it caught up to me, man. I would stop for little periods of time, and then I would go and do programs and this and that, and I just wasn't done yet, man. I don't know how else to put it other than I just wasn't done. And I got to a point, and I went on a run, and it was a couple years long, and I got to the point where I felt invisible. I felt like nobody seen me. And to be honest, I didn't really want them to see me for a long time, because it was clear and obvious. I mean, I was in a terrible spot. I was sick. I mean, you know, when I say sick, I would compare it to like somebody that had some kind of disease. You know, I had no weight to me. I probably looked like a skeleton. Well, I know I did, because I've seen pictures recently of what I looked like. I had no weight on me. I looked like a skeleton. And like I said, I didn't want to live, and I felt like nobody seen me anymore, and that started to bother me. Like I felt like if I died, nobody would even know, and I was scared, dude. I was lost. Like I didn't know what to do or where to go, and luckily, some people in my family. There was another family member involved. He was a male, and he was younger than me. He was my cousin. And so jointly our family got together, and you know, they just had seen enough of us struggling and being sick all the time. And I mean, I say we got to the point we were sick when we were using, we were sick when we weren't using. Like it was just a vicious cycle, I guess I would call it. And they got us together, and I think to all of their surprise, when they said something and confronted us all, it started off like, you know, you see these interventions, and they start off and they're like, we're not going to stand for the blah, 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 but really quickly it changed, because we were both just like, thank God, or thank somebody, we don't want this anymore. You know, like we were waiting for somebody to ask that or say what they said. So it in all honesty, it went pretty smooth, you know, like I think we both came to terms with it, that we didn't not want to die. Right. And we both had had some scary situations where we're both lucky that we didn't die.
Yeah, it's incredible what a bottom will do to you, right? It's sort of like, you know, what I teased before the show started. You know, you come to a point where you've, honest to God, have hit your bottom and you've had enough. And you want to do something to change your life, because you know the alternative to that is a very dire one. So it's always so, you know, so strong to hear that, to hear the recovery from those things. But also to realize, one, when you sensed it, and two, the sort of program you did to overcome this. But then three, sort of like the three legs of the triangle, how you proved to be providing service from that, and how you've helped many people outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, everyone's bottom or their reason for wanting to change their life isn't always the same, and they look so different. And I always reckon back to, you know, when, like I said, I didn't know what to do. Like it took someone reaching into me because I couldn't reach out. I didn't know. I didn't know the first thing to say to somebody. And I was so used to lying and manipulating that if somebody did even ask me if I was okay or anything, I didn't know anything but to lie and just say I was fine. And they knew it was a lie. I knew it was a lie. So I really consider that today, like people aren't always going to reach out. People aren't always going to come somewhere and be like, I need this, I need that. You know, sometimes it does take asking somebody if they're okay, and not just asking if they're okay, but really meaning it and like following it up with other conversation and engaging with them. You know, like I don't know. I think of where I was, and I consider that today. Like everybody isn't gonna you know, come into trying to live safely and just be open, willing, and ready to do it. You know, like some people just don't know the first thing to do.
No. And the thing is, we always have this false sense, and I'm going to use an example from like 40 minutes ago, Merc, and again, no, I'll take the slapping later for that, but you were worried about how this is going to go and everything, and I know how the brain works. It's like, oh, this has got to be perfect, this has got to be I dotted, T crossed, and it's got to have Hollywood production value here. But the thing is, we have to be us. We have to convey a message. And when you think about recovery and you think about the things we're coming from, we have to be us. More so than ever before, we have to be us. So we have to remember that to ourselves, we have to resonate with being healthy and clean and happy. And happy comes with the first two, so it sort of works from there. There are some people that are providing comments that I want to put up on screen real quick. In that,
Let's see 'em.
Yeah. So CK, how are you? Good to see you on the Venture Forward tonight. A gentleman, I don't know who this Leonard Weaver. I don't know. LT, how are you, man? Good
Sounds
to see
familiar.
you. I think so. I think it might be from out west somewhere. I have no idea. Now, Felice, are you related to Leonard? How does that work?
Brother, sister.
Maybe brother,
Wife,
sister.
husband, maybe.
Maybe. Who knows? Could be any of that. Share Squad, indeed. Share Squad. So before I continue with the comments, LT Leonard Weaver, he runs an incredible recovery group in that of called Recovering Addict. It's one of the groups that I belong to, that I've really been inspired by, especially in all of this craziness that's going on in this world right now. To have a bunch of people that I consider a family, that I've learned things from, and we've shared information back and forth and sideways here, is so incredible to provide and foster a network like that. So LT, Felice, and then, of course, Cherie, how are you? Our representative from Australia. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. That's right. Paulie Pinch, also from these groups. He says, yo, Paulie, how are you? Glad to see you tonight as well. Felice says hi to LT. Sean says, Merc, it's great to hear some of your story. And
Thanks,
I got
Sean.
it. I have to agree with Sean on that. It is fantastic to hear your story for sure. You have a great story to tell. And we'll talk more about that story as soon as I get through the next set of comments here. LT says, loves these two. Love you two as well. Love you and Felice and Cherie and everybody in the family. Love you guys a lot. Cherie says, we're her second favorites after the Weaver. So we're up on the list.
Yeah, we're on there. It's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We're trying to get there.
It.
Yeah, we'll take it. Of course we will. Hey, sister. Share Squad indeed. Leonard says, be yourself, which basically, or LT rather. I'll dare not call you that again. Sorry, LT. Be yourself absolutely is what we have to be. In order to do anything in life, whether it's to do a live stream or to take care of yourself, you have to be yourself, first and foremost. Happiness for sure. LT's laughing. LT also says, thank you, brother. And we'll go to more comments in a little bit here, but I'm curious about when along the way was the point where you realized, okay, it's time for me to do something about this. I know of the family history of it. What was sort of the things that went through your mind when that sort of coming to reason took place?
So for me, I mean, I was addicted to heroin, and I was an intravenous user. So the things that really got me and opened my eyes and woke me up was like the physical need for this drug, and like how much, realizing how much it controlled me, and
Mm-hmm.
it it was like one of the, I don't know if it was mental and physical. I'm sure it was a huge tornado of all of them, but man, there was days where things went wrong, and things had been going good for a long time. Obviously, like I kept up with my drug use. I always had it, always find a way to money. But once I got so deep that it didn't become so easy anymore. You treat so many people like shit and steal from them and lie to
Mm-hmm.
them. And, even people I was using with, and I got put in a situation the first time, and the person cut me out of their life, and in doing that cut me out of the drug connection. And I felt like, holy shit, this is serious.
Mm-hmm.
And it scared the shit out of me. So, I mean, I knew that in the back of my mind, but the only rational thing I could come up with was, damn, I better find more.
Yeah.
So I can continue doing that for, I don't know, a few more years.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what family's effect is, especially with our addictions. And we talk about the addictions that you're overcoming and that you have mentioned, and I talk about things like overeating and alcoholism and gambling. But you think about family's effect on us, it's somewhat similar in the sense that they're going to go about it in their own way with it, and it's almost like it's a peer pressure sort of thing. And they may go down that road and try to continue doing that. And especially if the people in question are your parents, well, then they're also bringing that sort of behavior home, especially something that is borderline as far as food and overeating. But I can only imagine what sort of effect of the family having on you. And the fact that you're able to overcome that amongst your circles is really impressive, Mark.
Yeah, family, still today, man, family's a very difficult thing, because my my family doesn't all live the lifestyle I do. They don't. I don't know. I don't openly talk about it very much, because most of the people in my family do things that I don't do. You know what I
Mm.
mean? They I don't want to get too detailed, because I don't know. That's
Yeah,
their
yeah,
shit.
of course.
It's
I
not
mean,
mine. And I've gotta that's what I have to tell myself. Like, that's their shit. I know what it's gonna be when I go to a family gathering. I know what's around, and I just um and that's another point. I try to always tell people, like, just because you don't do this or that, the rest of the world doesn't care. I mean, genuinely, you have some people that support you and your family and stuff, but it's always theirs. And you always have to know what you want to do deep down inside, because you can't leave it up to somebody else to decide what you're going to do, or to what not to expose you to.
right, right.
So yeah, that's a struggle, man. That's a struggle. Like I was talking earlier, like my cousin, that's a difficult relationship to
Mm-hmm.
have today. It's very few and far in between, and regardless of where he's at or where I'm at in our journeys in life, it's still difficult to be around him. It's really
Yeah.
hard. I just was recently, and it was hard, man.
It really becomes a question of boundaries, right? And how well we are good in placing boundaries, but also how tall those boundary walls can be. And I think the more nuclear the family in question, the harder that becomes until we get older. But even then, more the reason why we need to be on top of that sort of thing.
And so here's a great observation I have. So through my experience lately, for a long time, my solution in just the way it had to be and my boundaries was I couldn't be around most of my family. Like I just couldn't. Like things were too toxic. But I've found, I don't know, probably through the last like 6 months, 5 months, maybe, the more that I've worked on myself and dealt with some of my shit, it's possible now to be around them in small doses. It's not like an everyday thing or anything, but man, I had a lot of shit in me that was muddying up my perception of how things were and how people were, and a lot of it was my own shit.
Yeah, it's amazing how much we see, but then also how much of it becomes us. Like it's like I've told a few people, when I got to be morbidly obese of like a class 6 morbid obesity, I couldn't blame anyone else but me. I was the one putting the food in my mouth. I was the one drinking to oblivion. So there is the influence, but at the end of the day, you own up for what you do. You own up to yourself. I think we need to always remember that as much as we understand the effects of how we get to a certain place, we must never forget that we are the ones in conscious sort of interaction with the addictions in question.
Absolutely. That's I don't know, if I could say a few things to anybody, that's one of the few things I would say to them. Like, remember that you are responsible for what you do and don't want to do, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Yeah. That's, and I say that because I learned that the hard way a lot of times. So part of my story is I don't know, I was a young kid, I don't know, between 18 and 20 years old. Age doesn't matter, but I got into a bunch of trouble due to what I was doing. I was living a cat-like fucking life, and shit, I wasn't gonna say the other word, but I did.
We'll bleep it out in post. Don't worry about it.
So obviously, coming along with that, you get in trouble, and I got sent to a place, and looking back on it, it was an awesome opportunity because I could have been sent way worse places. They had a lot of programs there. I learned a lot of things about while I was there. It didn't do me any good when I got out because, man, in the back of my mind the whole time I knew, like, this is just, I'm just getting healthier so I don't die as fast when I go back to what I was doing. But, and then I went, and I was fooling around for a little bit, but then I stopped. I was just sick of it because I remembered what it felt like when I was at that place. I felt in control of my life. Like I was in control of my own life, not a drug or a bunch of different drugs. And I don't know, some time had gone by, and I was really enjoying it and enjoying myself and learning who I was, because at my age when I started using, I feel like, man, once I got lost in that drug addiction, I stopped maturing. Whatever age that was, I feel like I just stopped at that age. But this little moment of clarity I had, I started, feeling again and being in control of myself. And I was working, of all things, and I worked with some family members, and man, all of a sudden, the next thing I know, somebody had heroin, and it was just like, boom. The thought never crossed my mind. And he was like, man, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. And I was just like, well, it is what it is now. We might as well go on. Like, you're not leaving here, and I'm not leaving here until you give me some of that. And that was my last run. In that was just, not being aware, like I was saying earlier, of like anything can happen at any time. And that thought never crossed my mind that could happen. And it did. And it took me for quite a wild ride, my last ride.
I can only imagine. It's amazing how much you go through when you look back at it and you say, you know what? I got through that. I live a much better life now because I'm working hard at it. I'm doing my darnest to keep working at it, one day at a time, right? But we must never forget and really realize what our life has been now better, being clean and being sober and working towards that. That's incredible. At the bottom of the hour, I'm going to go through some comments because they were flying in here as we were talking. So let's go through the comments and then we'll continue. We got Sherry with the 3 Australian flags. Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Paulie says, I never had a bad day in my life. It's the nights that get me. Absolutely the nights.
Relatable.
There's something that happens when the sun goes down that, your lifestyle changes. You go out and you do other things, and it's Paul. You put up a really great point there for sure.
So I'll have this issue sometimes. I'll wake up in the middle of the night or something, and I don't know how to say it other than like I feel like I lost something or something's broken, and I don't even know what it is, and I don't know if it's due to dreams or what, but like. When you wake up like that, man, it's weird. It happens to me all the time. Who knows what it's from, but I can relate to what Paulie's saying about night. Things are just different sometimes.
It's really something where you're dealing with this, and especially within whatever time frame or whatnot. A few weeks back, 3 or 4 weeks back, I had dreams about gambling. I don't know what the dreams were telling me, but I sure as heck know I wasn't going to do it. But I just thought it was really weird that in your subconscious you draw back to that sort of thing, even to illustrate something, even if it's a subconscious trying to raise a little bit of havoc with us. Jennifer says, peaceful greetings, digging the show. Thanks for sharing. Jennifer, great to have you on the program this evening. Good to see you. Sherry says, hey, beautiful. Hey, beautiful.
Oh, hello, Sherry.
LT says, I have to jump off and go to work. LT, you have a great night at work, and I'm glad you stopped in for a little while. Duke, good evening to you. Hope you're doing okay.
Jake Brown.
Jennifer says, unapologetically genuine. Merc, you are unapologetically genuine. I appreciate you.
I appreciate that.
Sherry says, so will this be a regular gig you will run, John V? Yes, looking to do this 3 days a week. Two of this sort of program, the Venture Forward, and then the Friday program's called the VF Talks, which is at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. And I don't have a long calculator to tell you what that time is in Melbourne, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what the time, what 5:15 Eastern translates in Australia, but yeah, the VF Talks is a bit different than this program. It's basically, we talk about anything that's going on in the world, and we have multiple people on the interview mode, and we just basically have a good time after a long week and get our feelings out and whatnot. So, Sherry, if you're back tomorrow night for that, that'd be great. And we'll talk more about what VF Talks is towards the end of this. Sherry says, the Venture Forward with hearts. We love you, Sherry. Thank you. Jeff says, being yourself allows you to see other people's true colors.
Very good point, yes.
It's, I think it's a point where you and I, Mark, have seen that a lot. And it's something that we know how to deal with, and we're here to help, and we're here to give our hearts and our minds and whatnot. But yeah, being yourself allows you to basically be a better version of yourself. I feel there's no sort of roadblock that you're putting in there as far as being deceitful or lying about it.
And that's a struggle, especially when you've lived the kind of life a lot of us have, when you lied in your addiction or your alcoholism, whatever. Like for most of us, a lot of things were a lie. We lied to ourselves and we lied to other people a lot. So getting down to your genuine self is it's been a process for me, man. But it feels good.
It feels better than good. You know, it feels healthy, right? I feel like I have a better control of my life. And Merc, I know you do too.
Definitely.
Paulie says, someone asked me if I want to go to the casino and I have to say no. He says, I got to see a guy at a bar tomorrow for a job business opportunity. So a casino invite this evening and a bar location tomorrow. Again, it goes back to the point we were raising before, Merc, about boundaries. You have to figure out what those boundaries are, Paulie, and make sure that those boundaries are not usurping on how your health and well-being is. If you feel like you could do it, again, I'm not any sort of, addiction expert here, just someone who's been through these travels before. But you're going to have to do that for you. And if you need to reach out and ask others, I would do that. Because I want to make sure, or you want to make sure rather, that you're in a place where you don't feel threatened. You don't feel like you're in that state of where that sort of switch would be triggered. So that's just my advice to you. Of course, Paulie, reach out to all of us and we'll talk more about it. Sherry says not everyone's family has supportive as any. I'm sorry, I'll repeat that. Not everyone's family has anyone as supportive as Felice and Cassie and Grandma T. Ain't that the truth? It's a great family.
It is. I'll touch more on that later.
Sure.
I could probably
Paulie
go on
says,
for an hour about that.
We take as long as we need. Paulie says, but it's mind over matter. If it's not in my mind, it doesn't matter. That's a good way of looking at it. And again, you know those boundaries, you know those walls. So stay true to those walls. Stay honorable to yourself in all of this. Sherry says, be careful, Paulie. And I'm telling you, be careful. And a lot of people are telling you to be careful. So just, be aware of those boundaries. Be aware of where your mind is and always keep on top of that sort of thing. For sure. Paulie says, well, I got to do what I got to do. Well, you do got to do what you got to do. But you also have to remember that your health and safety is of paramount concern. Without the health, without your well-being, there is nothing to talk about. So remember that, Paulie. That's important. Sherry says, small doses is a good, safe plan, Mark. I would say so. But as long as they're safe. Paulie says, if I can get that back on the screen, it's a risky situation. Yeah, Paulie, I'd be lying to say if it wasn't. It is a risky situation. And again, you're going to be in charge of those boundaries and fully be aware of what can happen, what goes on there, and you basically being on top of those boundaries and doing what's best for yourself. It's a tricky situation, Mark.
It is. And like you were saying, I think it just comes down to being really honest with yourself and asking yourself what you can and can't do. Because, nobody else can tell you that.
The only person that ends up knowing is you, right?
Yep.
Sherry says, and there is always consequences. And boy, is there always consequences in anything we do. So if you're putting yourself out there that gives yourself the least bit of temptation, you have to remember that temptation can come out and get you. So just be very well aware of that. It's not to say that if you have those sort of things that you're fighting, that you couldn't have a job like that. I know people who are recovering and work at a casino, and it works for them. But you have to know where your boundaries are, without question. Sean says, my addiction definitely stunted my growth. Had to relearn becoming adult or being an adult. Yeah, I think not only physically for me, mentally as well. You spend too much time with those sort of things, and it'd be incredible how much of that dopamine rush plays major havoc with your cerebellum and your brain. I don't know about you, Merc, but with respect to going back to Paulie's point for a second, I know the problem with me in gambling was that I would be in a daze, basically that sort of drip sort of daze that I wasn't even losing. I was lost all track of time and of money. And it was the sort of thing that even if I won something, I was never satiated or gratified by that. I was always giving it back. It was about that drip. I think you could
Just
tie that
about
to the... Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
dragging through the moment. Yeah, it's about the moment.
Yeah. Paulie says, it's relearning life. Patience is a very important virtue in life. I was asked to go gambling this evening. I ain't going to do it, but I thought about the atmosphere in a casino right away. There are other things than gambling that's going on in a casino that you have to be very fully aware of. Sarah says, if the models you had for grown-ups were stunted themselves, numbing out and stunting your growth is a way to stay in the family, to stay connected, to belong. I guess there's something about that connection, that familial connection, especially during holiday dinners and whatnot, that kind of grows. Doesn't make it right by any stretch of the imagination after being that far removed from it. But you have to be cognizant of those sort of things for sure. Merc, how is the sort of holiday situation with you, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, to be honest with you, for the past 8 years, it's been very difficult,
Okay.
and it was very difficult, and a lot of times, so the person I was dating, and I had my youngest son with, and my family didn't really, I don't know how to say it other than to me it's unnecessary bullshit, and
Right.
people worrying about other people and what they think and do, and the both sides let those things control their lives and shit. So there was quite a few years I didn't get to see him, and I didn't with my family. And then the past few years I've been able to, and that was cool. Still tense and weird, but thank God the way things are today, I can do whatever I want. And if I want to be in that situation, I can be. And I don't have to worry about how somebody else feels about it, especially when I think how they feel about it's bullshit. So, and then, for a few years, I have two other sons that are older. One's, what did he just turn 9, and the other one's 11. They have a different mom. And man, I didn't see them for 2 years in a row, period, at all. And that was including all the holidays. And those were probably two of the worst years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Even through addiction and everything else, like my oldest son, man, I pretty much I raised him and was around him a lot up until the time that he went with his mom, and I didn't see him for a long time. It was like 2 years, like I said, and it was terrible. Like, no matter how good other things were going on in my life, like I said, in the meantime, I had another son, and it was hard to enjoy my other son, man. It really was. Like, it was such an awesome time, and I had this little baby and everything, but at the same time, it always was in the back of my mind about my other two kids. And the younger one of those two, I barely knew him. Like, I knew him for like the first year of his life, and then for 2 years I didn't as much as see him driving by in a car. I wouldn't know where they were. They were in all kinds of bad situations, and to be honest, I got a phone call one day, and they were their mom had overdosed, and my youngest son was with her when it happened. And the next day, the federal agents raided the house that she was at, and I put two and two together, and I remembered the address the next day when I seen this. I'm like, geez, what the hell is going on here? And then of course I got a phone call, and I had to go to the courts. And I went from not seeing my sons for like 2 years to either I get them or they're gone. You know, they're in foster care. So that was challenging in itself, getting them and not seeing them. Like, you know, 2 years away from a kid under the age of 10 is a long period of time. You know, and all of a sudden I went and got my oldest son off the bus, and I'm like, you got to come with me. And he's been with me ever since. But it's been a rough go. But yeah, especially, man, when you said holidays, that's like one of the first things that came to my mind, because it was holidays without him was really hard too. I didn't even know where they were. It was terrible.
The more I learn about what you've gone through, just the more amazed I am of how great things are now for you, and it truly is a blessing. Definitely a blessing for sure.
You know, I don't know, man. It makes it hard to worry about things today and fight things that are happening in life that maybe aren't the best, but I mean, shit, I'm alive. You know, I get to see my kids on a regular basis. I'm not always looking over my shoulder. I mean, but honestly, the main thing for me, it comes down to like being alive. A lot of people that I grew up with and were in the life that I was in, they're not alive, you know. So I'd be doing a disservice to them if I didn't have a positive outlook on my life and be grateful to be here and be able to enjoy it, because a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, it's every day is truly a blessing, and every moment is truly a blessing for sure. You never lose sight of that for sure. As I say that phrase 4 times in the same sentence is great.
Right.
The fact that I'm picking up on my verbal crutches within a show now, that's good. It's a good sign. There's hope. Sheree says, that's right. Sheree says nice, and Sheree says I will PM you. Cool. Thank you, Felice. I look at myself as a member of Team Felice or Felice's Army, so to know that you're a member of my team, you got my heart. That's awesome.
I think we could almost give her a vote to use the mouse.
Go ahead. Use 2 mouses.
I'll
two
give
mice.
her a vote. I'll give her the vote. Yeah, let her use 2.
Heck, if you want to get a trackball, you want to get the trackball and 2 mice, you're all set. You got everything working.
Don't get too nice of ones, though, because they're going to end up broken.
Felice is worth it. Felice is worth 2 mice in a trackball, without question. Sarah says, sometimes what you think you've got to do, you don't. Something even better might come along if you make space. It's true. It's true. Not only about addiction, but about a lot of facets within life.
I agree with that a lot, especially with like pertaining to like taking up space in your head. You know, like for a long time, I let a lot of bullshit take up space in my head, and it I was selling everything short. You know, I wasn't allowing opportunities for good things to come into my life because I filled my head up with so much bullshit. And now I'm trying to get all that shit out of there, and just and good things come with it.
It's amazing how much we could be our worst enemy. In the grand scheme of things, it's amazing how much we will derail ourselves and sabotage our own self. I just think about the times that whatever addiction you want to talk to, I can always, say that is me sabotaging myself and holding myself back. If you realize that, you can work forward from that. Paulie says, I thought about the bright lights at the casino and the atmosphere. I might just be insane to think that I would want to go to Atlantic City tonight. I wouldn't go. My gut says, Paulie, and again, I need to know more about the situation and whatnot and where your mindset is, but the only thing I think that is redeeming about Atlantic City is Chef Ola. It's an Italian restaurant in Atlantic City. It was fantastic. It was in one of those HBO series. It's an incredible restaurant. But I mean, that's the only reason why I would go there. I would go for an Italian restaurant. Certainly, I'm not stepping foot in a casino.
So here's the thing. I have no desire to go to a casino, and I know that. I just don't. Probably because I don't have a bunch of money to blow. But when I think of a casino, the first thing I think of is all those blinking lights and those sounds, and that's very attractive. Even to
the ding dings and the whoop whoops.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about it. I honestly don't. I don't care about it. But when he just said that, I started thinking about like all that noise and shit, man, and it's appealing. But I'd compare it to like me. When I think of my drug use, man, for a long time I thought about that good feeling, and today that good feeling, I tell myself and I realize that it's like 2 minutes, and then what? And then I fucking feel like shit, man. I feel terrible. And then I'm disappointed in myself because I'm doing something that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I got to look past that moment of enjoyment sometimes.
It's always looking at the short term versus the long term and realizing what is the short term for anyway. My long term may be in a much more perilous situation because of it. Not to make it that sort of cut and dry, but those sort of thoughts do come to your mind every now and then. Boardwalk Empire. That was the name of the HBO show, by the way. The Chef
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew they weren't paying anything if we said it. So
no. Not sponsored by HBO. Not sponsored by any of that sort. Sarah Steele says, finding other ways to get the drip, healthy ways, because there are. Yeah, there are. There are much more healthier ways to get that sort of serotonin, that sort of dopamine sort of rush. And it doesn't have to be a rush. It could be a gradual flow, like a rational human being. Paulie says, Atlantic City is hell on earth. Well, this message isn't paid for by the Atlantic City Bureau of Tourism. Atlantic City is hell on earth. It really is. There's so much illegal activity that goes on in a casino, it's unreal. Yeah. Plenty of it.
Yeah, I've watched Boardwalk Empire too much. I'd be out shaking people down on the boardwalk and stuff.
Me too. I'll tell you a story some other time. I'm not going to say on the live stream, but yeah. Sean says, well put, Merc. It's easy to focus on what you don't have. Writing out gratitude lists helped me. I don't want to go all new age on you for a second, but tonight is a new moon. So think about the things that you want to manifest. Write it down on a sheet of paper. Say a prayer or put something out there. Then go outside and set that piece of paper on fire and let it go into the universe. See? Got a little new agey for a second. Something for everybody, right?
I'm really getting into that, like writing things down more than I ever have in my life, and I've made so much progress by just those stupidest little things that I have written down on paper, and I mean stupidest little things. Like it's insane. Like I know you have that board that you write things down on, but I'm really just I've never been a person to like write things down and stuff, but. Absolutely. But even through like I was working on amends, and I wrote out a lot of things and to people that I couldn't make amends to, and I burned them. And man, I had some weight on my shoulders, and just writing them out and reading it after I wrote it, it was so much different than just having that bullshit in my head. And man, it felt so freeing. I swear it did.
Yeah. There have been some people that were part of LIDA that have introduced me to that sort of way of thinking by way of that sort of crystals, or by way of card reading, whether tarot or oracle cards, by way of numerology. So, I mean, that was something that was very eye-opening, because you don't know when you're going to hear the message, but when you hear it, you listen. And they definitely have told me a thing or two, which I'm very fortunate for. And if you guys are catching this on replay later on, thank you. And you know who you are, for sure. Let's see. Sean says, my sponsor is good about staying on me, which is any good sponsor should do. Sherry says, so happy and glad you are still here, Merc, and you can help so many now too. Kiss and a hug.
Man, that's just shocking to me to hear, you know, that anything I say could help somebody. It's still like, I don't know. That's, you know, when you asked me to do this, and I've not really shared with very many people like parts of my story and stuff, but maybe it's not for me to hear, you know, maybe it's for somebody else to hear.
Yeah.
Because I know it. I've heard it a million times. And man, it was so cool. Before I came here, I was in this meeting, and no joke, I had no idea. And I go in there, and the guy he says, yeah, so tonight's topic is going to be the importance of sharing your story with other people. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I needed.
Perfect. You couldn't write a better script. You really couldn't. So how did that meeting go before you joined us tonight?
It was cool, man. I was just listening, and I really liked what he had to say, and it was about, you know, like the importance of, you know, maybe somebody else hearing something you have to say. And might not solve the world. You might inspire somebody, might not, but if you do, I mean, it's worth it, right? Right.
You touch one person, and that does so much, right? It's not, as you said, this is not about us per se. It's about trying to touch as many people as we can, even if just one person. And you definitely touch people for sure. You make them think, and you get them towards that road that is so important for them. That, dare I say, the show title, that venture forward, right? It's you do that a lot, and I've seen it in the chat rooms within YouTube for recovering addict. I am very just.
I know I have I don't know how to say it. I don't know. I just have an approach to it as, you know, let's do this and get better and be safer and live better lives, but be human while we do it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most important thing I've learned. That the most growth I've had in my life has come from that. It's like, be okay with being human and be safer and live a better life, man. Like, I fought being human for a long time. I'm realizing today.
It's our job to be human. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be human. We're not automatons. We're human beings. So. Yeah,
and you know, everything sounds good on paper. Do this, and this, okay, but throw some emotions in there. Throw some dramatic situations with a family member in there. It makes it a lot harder to get through those however many things you need to do, or that list, you know, and be realistic about it.
Absolutely. A couple more comments here. Felice says, always on your team, JV. Always on Team Merc too. Thanks, I could use a mice. Thanks, I could use a new mice. So
I heard they need a generator over there. So
LT Felice, I'm sorry for that statement. I am not responsible for the views and the opinions.
I'll own it.
Des, how are you? Good morning, gentlemen. You too, Merc. There you go. There's a nice little jab at the end of there.
Yeah, he's Australian. We'll let him talk like that. Maybe they don't have manners down under.
Maybe. Don't know. Des, you got a comment? Sarah says the board. Yes, the board. The board that was shown. Part of the board was shown in the opening. Basically, it's what I've held on to in this journey for sure. Sarah also says, my journal is where I dump the crazy out of my head. Me too. Me too.
Don't do us no good in our heads, man.
No, not at all. Sherry says, spiritual variety, love it. We love you, Sherry. She also says, a God of our understanding, what works for you? Yeah. You know, there are some folks that don't necessarily subscribe to Judeo-Christianity and have found a very healthy and happy life down recovery. And they look at the universe, or they look at the term God, right? It's amazing if your mind is centered here and your mind is centered here, and you have the right support network around you, incredible things can happen.
Definitely, and that's a touchy situation for a lot of people when they're in recovery, and I don't know. I'm grateful for the program that I work, because it doesn't have it in there.
Mm.
It's not that it's like I don't know how to say it. It's not there because people shouldn't think whatever. It's just open. It's open to whatever, and there's plenty of places you can put it in there. But a lot of people feel pressured by that.
Mm.
You know, like, I have to find this but I don't know. I think that's a struggle for a lot of people. And I think when it's out of the picture, if it is going to be a part of your life, it becomes easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more you work through it, the easier it becomes, but you must never lose sight and hold on to those things, no matter what sort of higher power you believe in. Let's see, what else is there? Right, Sherry says, our recovery is now our journey. Absolutely. Felice says, yeah, we could use a generator too, but we don't talk about it.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have Felice and you, Merc, take that up offline. I think you need to have a conversation about it. I don't know. Just saying.
All I'm gonna say is I wish I was a Generac salesman right now.
There you go. Sherry says, yes, I use the universe. Me too. Me too, Sherry. Sean says, agreed. I like how open-ended the whole higher power thing can be. It's what you believe your higher power to be. It's what gravitates to you from your journeys, from your moments, and you realize that this is the higher power that is made out for me, and the belief system that is made out for me. Anything to help me be healthy and happy and clean and sober and fit and this and that and the other thing. Whatever it takes for you to get to that sort of place is important. Sean says, not religious, but I am spiritual. Now, thanks to my sobriety. Your sobriety, Sean, I'm proud of you on that. Keep at it. One foot in front of the other, one step at a time, sir. There's Ob. I was wondering, when was Ob going to show up to this live stream? There you are. How you doing, Ob?
He made it.
He did. Time difference and all. Des says we need to shut down those committee meetings in our heads. Got way too many people in that committee. Then there's, again, it all goes back to you. You own that, right? You own your own happiness. You own your own wisdom. You own your own foresight and whatnot. So you can't lose sight of that for sure. Sherry says, told you I did share squad. All the Aussies are joining. Sherry, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for getting everybody in here, including Ob. I'm glad you're here, Ob. Big time. And I think on that, I am out of comments. Merc, it's really great to have you on this show on tonight for this first episode. I said in the beginning of the show, I'll say it again, there is no better person, I think, that for me, I would have to help tell what the concept of recovery and addiction is. And I'm glad you're here for that. I guess that said, if you had a piece of advice to give to someone who has an addiction that they're struggling through, what would that advice be?
Um, don't give up. Don't give up. Talk to somebody. Be open about it. Go to somebody who you think isn't going to judge you or put you down, and tell them your situation. And I think we've seen a lot of that. That's what I was going to say earlier about, like, having places to go where people can feel safe to talk about those things, and come to groups of people and say, hey, I'm struggling, and having open arms and telling them, hey, we can relate to you, or hey, call this number, or hey, do this, do that, like, that's, I don't know, it's just having places like that. And like, L2, when the whole coronavirus thing went down, like, he made he had a place, but he utilized it to be there for people like that. And as we've seen, a lot of people were struggling, and a lot of people are doing a lot better today because they had somewhere to go. So I guess I would say, more so to people that are in recovery, is be open to those people that are coming out and need some help. Be there for those people, because like I was saying earlier, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to say to anybody. So reaching in a little bit, and letting somebody know, hey, you're not alone. It's okay.
Mark, it's like we say. It's like we say in Recovering Addict, we recover better together. And it's like what I say in Lita, we stream better together, and I'm glad I'm streaming and recovering with you, sir. Without question.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you said that at the beginning, I just wanted to say, you've been a huge part of my recovery too. These past however many months we went through this whole thing. Like, I wouldn't be exactly where I'm at today and feeling exactly how I am if you hadn't played a part in that. And I relate to you on a lot of things. We've gone through a lot of similar things at the same time. We were both going through ending relationships, and that's very relatable. And you, with the way that you're doing your recovery, and you're just it to me, the whole healthier lifestyle thing, you're definitely you're doing the same thing I'm doing, and I love that. And it's so relatable, because it's about so much more than not doing drugs or alcohol, and eating, just eating better, and getting yourself more healthy, getting your mind more healthy, your body more healthy. Like, that's so fulfilling. It's so much bigger than recovering from drugs and alcohol.
It's giving me a chance, just like we're all giving ourselves a chance, right? As if you remember from the open on the board, it also says there is no alternative. I can't go back to this. I can't go back to overeating. I can't go back to gambling. I can't go back to drinking. For me, there absolutely is no alternative. This is the time. This is the time. I do this now, and I stay to this for the rest of my life. Because one, it's the right way to go. And two, I can help out so many people on this road. So, thank you, Merc. I appreciate you saying that, for sure.
Thank you.
Ob says, I did not know this was going on. Sherry sent me the link. Well, I'm glad you're here, Ob. Higher power is the topic. Actually, the topic was addiction and recovery, or recovery and addiction. I don't even know how I typed it in the titles, but yeah, it's that combo. It's basically how we know each other, and moreover, I think it's something that a lot of people are dealing with right now, given the global climate that we're dealing with. So if there was any topic to talk about right out of the gate, it's this one. And someone who knows this story real well. And Merc, I'm really glad you're here, but also all of you in the comments too. I appreciate you jumping on this as well.
Yeah, I think everybody in the comments, everyone's names I've seen have been a huge part of both of our lives, man. And I appreciate everybody, because I did this alone for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't growing as a person for a long time. I was miserable and unhappy for a long time, but through this whole coronavirus thing, the opportunity to get connected so quickly with so many different people from all over the world has it's changed my life. Like I've grown more in these past 6 months than I probably have in my whole life, man. And
Me too.
I know we've all have been a part of that for each other, and it's awesome, man. That's what we got to do, man. We got to be here for each other
Always.
and
Always.
support each other.
Yeah. We are each other's support network. We are a family. We are, whether you call it the Recovering Addict family. I'll talk about the other network real quick. We talk about Sober James, that family. I'm glad to be part of those families, both of you guys. And I got a special thanks to say at the end of this, of course. But Sherry has to go for the RA Daily Zoom. Sherry, I'm so glad that you do that for everybody. It is so incredible, that Zoom meeting, and I should be going to more of those. I'll be there tomorrow for sure. I do need to finish this up, and I got a couple more comments to say. Ob says, see you, Sherry. Sherry with some kisses.
See you, Sherry. Thank you.
Paulie says, JV, you are made to do this. Thank you, Paulie. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm glad you're here tonight for this first episode for sure. Sean says, 100% Paulie. Thank you, Sean. Always appreciate John's insights and work. It was great to hear you as well. I also want to thank...
Sean.
Yeah, I also want to thank Sarah Steele for joining us tonight. Sarah, we know from Lita. And Sarah, I got to know through that 31-day exercise. She is absolutely phenomenal. She's been a real dear friend of mine, and to see her on the show tonight was great too. In the comments, Ob also says, well, Ob trying to test how good Ecamm is. I did not want to believe in God. I can stay sober of my own free will. It did not work, so I relapsed hundreds of times. I found a solution to my higher power. I'll bring that back on screen for a second. I call him No Name. I was an agnostic. What I learned was I had to become willing to believe. It's a journey. You're exploring, right? Ob goes on to continue to say, all I said was, when I did the first step was I was willing to believe, and on step 3 I said this: if you exist, whoever you are, whatever your job is, and wherever you are, I need help. I am over 23 years sober. Ob, you're an inspiration for a lot of us in Recovering Addict. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being on here tonight. Felice says, amazing. Love it. Felice, love you. Love you, LT. That says we need to be open to or forms of recovery. It's not one exact cookie cutter template that we follow. We follow what means something to us. We have all had different stories that have gravitated us to this point. It's figuring out what that is.
I think that makes a great point. As similar as we all are, and as similar as a lot of our journeys are, we're just as much different, and to me today, it's really important that if one way doesn't work for somebody, give them an opportunity to find another way. Like I said it to you once, and I know this is probably a terrible way to compare it to, but it's like when they started telling you, when you have a baby, if you don't want the damn thing, take it to the fire department. Don't just kick it outside on the street. And I think we should do that, with people in recovery. If something doesn't work for somebody, don't just beat them down and tell them they're wrong and they're this and that. Maybe lead them in the direction, give them a website, a phone number, whatever, because we all deserve this. We all deserve a better life, whether it's your way, my way, whatever, and I think, John, we're prime examples. We're going through two totally different things, but we believe a lot of the same things, and we do a lot of things differently too. But we're both here today, and we're healthy, and we're alive, and we're sharing it with other people.
Yeah, and the amount the sort of incredible people we meet through these groups and whatnot. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for all of you, and I love all of you without question. Ob also says exactly. It's a journey, mate. It's great to see you fellas on here. Sorry for interruption. Are you on here once a week? The plan is twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:30, and then Fridays for VF Talks at 5:15, which I will explain in about 2 minutes.
And you're going to do that on the same page you're on right now?
Yeah, by tomorrow I hope the YouTube is working so I could do the recasting so we can have multiple ways of jumping in. But yeah, I think for now, even though VF Talks is going to feel a little bit different because it's just freeform, I think for now they're both going to be on here. And then if we find that it's a different audience altogether, then we'll separate it. But I'll provide as much detail as I can with that respect. Merc, any final comments? I know you shared a lot tonight, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you shared all of this.
Man, honestly, John, I don't know what else to say. It's just great that that we can all be here for each other and support each other, and I think that we should all not stop doing that. Just keep doing what we're doing, man, because it seems to be working.
Yeah.
And if something's not working for you and you don't like where you're at, try changing something.
Yep. If it
took
doesn't,
me a long time to figure that out. So if I can relay that to somebody else,
I think the way I looked at it is if you find yourself held back, if you find yourself squelched by whomever, if you find yourself not living the life that you wanted to live because you have things in your way or problems in your way or any sort of nouns in your way, there's one person that's in control of that. That's you. You work towards a way of fixing that, whether it is the steps or whatever, and you get down to the bottom of it, and you adopt a new way of living.
Definitely.
Let's see. Anything else? We got Sean saying this was great, John. Awesome first episode. Sean, thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate that. And Des, LOL, time zones again. Yeah, I mean, we live in different parts of the world, but what's amazing is in this sort of world we're living in right now, you could be in Australia, I could be outside of Philadelphia, and we're still best of friends. And Des, it's really great to have you on the show tonight, too. Merc, this was incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm super grateful for it. I appreciate it, man.
Well, I'm super grateful for you, and I love you, bro. Thank you, man.
Thanks, John.
And I'm gonna go talk about a couple of programming pieces, and then we'll close this. Sound good, Merc?
Sounds good.
All right, so I'm gonna disconnect you from the interview mode, and I will talk to you in a few minutes.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you.
Thanks, John.
Merc, ladies and gentlemen, very much an inspirational person, very much the sort of person that when you get to know him, he just has a very good outlook on life, and he knows exactly what it is, and he's seen a lot, and he helps a lot of people with their issues or their demons or their addictions or whatever, right? Even if it's just a getting to know you conversation or just hanging out sort of conversation, Merc's fantastic, and it's just a sample of the amazing people that I have gotten to know through the 2 recovery groups, to which I want to talk about that real quick. I mentioned Recovering Addict before, LT and Lauren, LT and Felice before. I appreciate them a great deal. They do a great show every week. They're on 3 nights a week. I'll provide information within the comments on when you can reach them. I also want to thank a gentleman by the name of Sober James. He was the first recovery group I was basically following when I was trying to look for help. And James still does, I think, 2 nights a week, maybe 3 nights a week. He has a really great community that he takes good care of. They have Zoom meetings every week, once or twice a week. Definitely a great support network that you could follow. And then Nicole as well. She has a great following that Merck is a moderator for, and I definitely want to give her a shout out as well. The point is, whatever your addiction, whatever sort of things you go through, there are a group of people that are here to help you. Whether it's a question of alcoholism, whether it's AA or Al-Anon, whether it's a question of drugs or narcotics, the question of Overeating Anonymous, OA, for those that are obese, or even those that are codependents. They're in a family of codependency, Codependency Anonymous, CODA. There are a lot of groups out there that can help you. We're going to explore many of these groups on this show. So my story is that of co-addiction, and next week I want to talk about obesity on Tuesday. I'll be Tuesday night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Definitely want to talk about obesity and my story there, because it's a story that I fought many times over, and it really is a gateway addiction to a lot of other pieces of my life. So I look forward to sharing that story with you without question. And then outside of that, tomorrow at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific, I do a program called VF Talks, which is more of a free-form sort of conversation. We talk about anything. We talk about what's going on in the world. We talk about anything you could possibly want. And it's just more of a fun conversation amongst the people that are watching and friends all within there too. So I'll provide information on VF Talks. In fact, it'll be on the closing slide that you'll see in about 60 seconds, plus or minus. But you'll see that, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. A couple more comments. Merck says, what a great first show, John. What a great first show, Merck. Thank you for being here. And for everybody, thank you for joining us tonight on this Venture Forward. We're on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. And on the VF Talks Friday nights, 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific on Facebook. And we'll fix the YouTube thing for tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely for Tuesday next week. But 5:15 Eastern time, so East Coast of the United States. I don't even know how to do the calculation to figure out what it means for you, but 5:15 Eastern or 5:15 New York time, 2:15 Pacific, 2:15 Los Angeles, that time zone. Mark, thank you. Thank you, Sean. Eastern time. And on that, I will say what I always say at the end of these streams. Stay safe, stay strong, stay sane, stay sober. You're worth it. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5:15 Eastern time for the VF Talks. Good night.